Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I have 3 stories to share with you in this very latest Moon Lambo hot jam, starting with this one from CoinSpeaker. Ripple President Monica Long stuns XRP Army with product advancement updates. And so they're talking about things that were discussed in a roughly 30-minute interview just the other day, actually. And a lot of it was stuff that we've already been broadly discussing within the XRP community, but we did get a couple tidbits that we didn't know and that were confirmed. And so happy to share that. There's also this headline from DL News: why XRP's sudden popularity with institutions means it will be an outperformer. What they're talking about here, I'm so glad that others have picked up on this. I talked about this in a video, when was it? 2 days ago? 3 days ago? Very recently I brought this up, and it's being confirmed by professionals in the space. There's also this story from the Crypto Basic: top pundit raises concerns around XRP futures contracts on CME Group. Wait, problems with XRP futures? You know what's also interesting about that? Literally yesterday I was talking about this as well. I'm also not the only one to have noticed this. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, let's go ahead and start with this piece: why XRP's sudden popularity with institutions means it will be an outperformer. Now, folks, to be perfectly honest with you, it's already abundantly clear, even outside of the institutional purposes. That's just the icing on the cake. Look at what has been happening since the election. Obviously, XRP substantially outperforming. Anyway, piece reads as follows: XRP might be on the verge of a major price rally. Last week, institutional investors bagged $37 million worth of XRP, even as most cryptocurrencies struggled to attract capital, according to research firm CoinShares. This surge places XRP just $1 million behind Ethereum in yearly inflows. More than $772 million has flowed out of Ethereum in the past 8 weeks. There are a number of factors at work with XRP, the cryptocurrency Ripple uses to facilitate cross-border payments. One is the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's decision to drop its long-running litigation against the company. Okay, so a couple things before going further. This is a gigantic number, $37 million. And so this is what I talked about. So take a look at this. I'll show you the last 2 weeks in case you missed this. If you go back, this is the week ending April 12th. XRP had inflows of $3.4 million on the institutional side for the week. Bitcoin had $751 million in outflows, money flowing out of Bitcoin investment vehicles. Ethereum was down $37.6 million, and again, XRP up $3.4 million. The only individual coin they're tracking that was up at all. That's incredible. That is strength right there. And again, this is institutional money. Then you can look at what happened the following week. Here, this is the data, most recent data collected, April 18th. So we'll have another one coming out. I'm sure it'll be published within the next day or so. But this is the most recent one we got for now, April 18th. XRP again up way more. Remember, the week before, 3.4 million. This week, XRP up 37.7 million. Bitcoin still down 6 million. Ethereum down 26.7 million. And I highlighted this, and so others have taken note. This does matter. This is a vote of confidence in XRP. So if you think XRP makes sense, you ain't crazy, and you're not the only one that thinks that. And as far as the SEC stuff, I understand the market may react to it to whatever degree whenever we get this news that officially the appeal stuff, it's all done, and whatever you think is going to happen, that's fine. Whether it's a sell the news event or that pumps a little bit or pumps a lot, whatever. I mean, you can make whatever bet on that you want. I still must insist, though, it's a little silly to me because XRP has had legal clarity since July of 2023, and even if the appeal went in favor of the SEC, had it gone through, even if, that would still only impact Ripple's transactions. And it seems like I know you guys know this stuff. It's still kind of funny to me that we talk about this as something that would or should materially impact the price of XRP on a global scale. To me, that's always just been silly nonsense. But, people gonna people. They can do whatever the hell they want. But anyway, the quote here after them stating that was, XRP is very likely to be one of the outperformers, end quote. That's if Bitcoin can sustain its momentum, Nolan said. Yeah, and so I completely agree with that. I do. If Bitcoin's going to keep moving to the upside, XRP will move up too, but it's going to substantially outperform Bitcoin's little bitch ass. That's what's going to happen. On the flip side, if everything actually falls apart, which I do not think is probable, though technically possible, well, then XRP wouldn't. If the whole market's not going to go, then XRP is not going to be this random outlier and just go to the moon. It's just not going to. But if the market's going to go, XRP is going to outperform. I firmly believe that is what is most probable here anyway. And then we have this. Ripple President Monica Long stuns XRP Army. Oh, we're stunned. With product advancement updates. And this is all incredible stuff. Now, a big part of what they were talking about in this roughly half-hour interview, which I did watch, it had to do with what was happening. I mean, this is like a notable takeaway anyway, but I'd also argue this is, if you're talking on like a fundamental level, this is arguably the biggest XRP-specific news we've gotten this year. And I'm surprised to say it's specifically coming from Ripple because that's usually not the case. But this deal where they're purchasing Hidden Road for $1.25 billion, that's gigantic. That's going to substantially increase the actual utility, the usage of XRP and the XRP ledger to a staggering degree. I get the sense that most people don't understand how big of a deal this is. Anyway, piece reads as follows, though. In a recent CNBC interview, Monica Long confirmed Ripple's acquisition of Hidden Road, a global prime brokerage firm that processes over $3 trillion in transactions annually. In the interview, Long disclosed that the deal, which cost Ripple $1.25 billion, is considered a strategic move. This acquisition is aimed at strengthening the company's financial infrastructure services, which include global payments, token custody, and asset tokenization, all of which are tailored for enterprise use. Now, folks, think about this. $3 trillion annually, and what has been stated is that it would all be done on the XRP ledger itself. So presumably, and I want to learn more about the guts of this and exactly what sample flows might look like, but presumably this is going to require a lot of tokenization of things. Anyway, piece continues, though. And by the way, it's actually before piece continues. That requires the usage of XRP. Every single transaction, just keep this in mind. So you're talking about $3 trillion worth of transactions. Every single transaction that occurs literally requires XRP to be used as a gas token effectively in such instances. So if that's the case, don't you think people will be like, oh, okay, so this ain't going away anytime soon, probably not ever. If you want to diversify and jump into crypto, don't you think that people that want to diversify and jump into crypto for the first time, they'll be interested in investing in a coin that's not going to go the way of the dodo, which, by the way, fun fact, is my favorite extinct avian creature? Don't you think? Anyway, now the piece continues. According to the update, Long shared that Ripple Labs has expanded its payments network. She highlighted the company's strong liquidity management, regulatory compliance with over 60 licenses, and complete control over payment flows. Long also mentioned that purchasing Hidden Road supports Ripple's core mission and enhances the integration of XRP, hear that, XRP, RLUSD, Ripple stablecoin, and other digital assets into enterprise-level solutions. Okay, now, you better want RLUSD to do well, because every single transaction with RLUSD on the XRP ledger requires XRP also, because it's tokenized. It's the most incredible stuff here. Like, there is no other coin that's going to be at the center of anything like this in crypto. There's nothing else comparable. It's just XRP. We are so fortunate to have Ripple as the biggest cheerleader out there. They are a juggernaut in this space, and they've been around practically since the advent of crypto. We're very fortunate, seriously. Anyway, piece continues. It is essential to add that this development follows Ripple Labs' decision to delay going public. Long explained that the company remains financially strong, holding billions in cash reserves, and does not need an IPO for capital or visibility. Yeah, and so that's true. They don't need that now. I still believe they will in the future because, if you have more, you can do more. But she literally said billions in cash reserves. The last update I had ever heard anyway, and maybe you guys had heard something and I missed it, Some time ago, maybe it was a couple years ago, Brad Garlinghouse said that Ripple had $1 billion in cash on their balance sheet. Now it's billions plural. Now, of course, maybe some of that's going to be heading towards the purchase of Hidden Road. I don't know all the specifics behind the scenes, so maybe that number changes quickly, maybe it doesn't. But that's quite the war chest, let's say. Again, very happy that they're on our team. That's all I'm saying. But here's the post that Monica Long, president of Ripple, shared just the other day, highlighting that, yes, indeed, they are using XRP and RLUSD. It's wild because this is the type of stuff that we've been talking about for like the last decade in the XRP community, and here it is coming to fruition. It's just freaking cool. All right, now into the last piece. Top pundit raises concerns around XRP futures contracts on CME Group. And I'm going to be brief with this. I made a video literally just yesterday, but since somebody else in the community happened to be discussing this, I thought I'd mention it here. And so, as you've probably heard by now, CME Group, and this is a big deal, Brad Garlinghouse is commenting on this, but CME Group shared this post just a couple days ago. Starting May 19th, trade-regulated capital-efficient futures on XRP, available in larger and micro-sized contracts so you can scale your exposure with greater precision and flexibility. So that's right. XRP futures finally, CME, going live May 19th. And so that's great. And so I did talk about this. I'm personally not interested in futures, but I'm happy that other people are. But Crypto Eddie noticed a shortcoming that I was highlighting as well. Here you can see, financially settled contracts in USD means XRP is not handled, moved, or delivered upon expiration. Okay, so to be clear, the reason that we're excited about ETFs in the world of crypto is because ETFs, unless they're a leveraged one like the most recent XRP one, which is another reason I wasn't very not as excited for that one. I mean, I'm happy it's out there. But the reason to be excited about ETFs, specifically spot ETFs in the world of crypto, is because those ETFs that the customer purchases, they're actually backed by the company that issues the ETF. They're backed by the actual crypto that it represents. So that means if there's a spot XRP ETF, if somebody's buying 100,000 XRP, $100,000 worth of XRP exposure via the ETF, then whatever firm issues the ETF, they have to buy that 100,000 XRP then. So it's actually backed. And then, behind the scenes, the custody is taken care of so the customer doesn't have to deal with that. So that's the benefit. It materially impacts the supply and demand dynamics of XRP. That's why that's exciting. So you can imagine as there's more demand and more opportunity for people to purchase, yeah, that does become a big deal over a span of years and decades. With futures, though, no. XRP specifically is not handled. And there is a way that this could be done, but here it's simply not. And so what I highlighted the other day is I'll still take it because it increases exposure to people, in XRP. You could get some additional level of interest. Every little bit helps, but it's not as big of a deal as having an actual spot XRP ETF. And so Mikkel responded to that and said, that is also how CME settles Bitcoin futures. And that's true. But there are Bitcoin ETFs, so they got that, and we don't have that with XRP yet, but of course that is coming. Anyway, Crypto Eddie responded to that, though, and wrote, we want contracts that are at the very least can be purchased in XRP if not settled. Now, folks, that would be nice. If you could actually purchase it with XRP, that would at least be a step in the right direction, right? Ideally settled with XRP too. Yeah, that would be better. Anyway, she says, one cannot directly buy CME XRP futures contracts using XRP. CME XRP futures are USD cash settled contracts, meaning all transactions, including purchases and settlements, are conducted in USD. The contracts are based on the USD price of XRP as determined by the CME CF XRP dollar reference rate and are traded on the CME's global platform with the payments and margin requirements in USD. To trade these futures, you would need to use USD through a brokerage account with access to CME futures markets such as Interactive Brokers or TD Ameritrade. And I'll pause and note, and she acknowledged this later, TD Ameritrade no longer exists. They were bought out by Charles Schwab. I well know that. That actually happened a couple years ago. I had a TD Ameritrade account, and now I have a Schwab account. Anyway, XRP itself cannot be used as a currency to purchase or settle these contracts. And so, totally fair things to bring up. I brought it up myself, happened to have literally talked about that yesterday. But there is a way to change it, which is a point that I hadn't brought up, so I thought it'd be worth at least mentioning this. If you could at least purchase these contracts in XRP, that would certainly be a step in the right direction. I'm still more interested in a spot XRP ETF, but you know what? All good things in time, I think we'll get there. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.